Jai Guruji, everybody. Oh, sorry. Jai Guruji, everybody. It's funny because when I came to the mandir today, I had a feeling that one of the aunties would come up to me and tell me to do a satsang. So thank you, Guruji. I feel like that's a satsang in itself. I wanted to start off with our journey. Our family got connected to Guruji about, I want to say about 12 to 13 years ago. And it actually started off with my brother. I believe my brother started going to the mandir, and then my mom started going with him, then I started going, then my dad started going. And the biggest gift that we started to learn was that in life, there's troubles, there's no troubles, but peace is the most important thing. And when you would go to work and you'd run around, then you come to the temple, you just relax, you peace, you clear out your mind. And I felt like that was such a beautiful journey. So I'm going to start off how we got connected, where we went, and where we are today. So when I got connected to Guruji is right when I graduated college. When I graduated college, just like every ambitious kid growing up, I wanted to make money, I wanted to work hard, and that's all I really focused on. I didn't care about the spirituality, the peace, the mind, and all the other things that I feel like people underestimate, right? Because when you're created in this world, obviously you need to make money to be able to survive, but survival is not just money, right? Peace of mind is the most important thing that a lot of us don't have. So when I graduated college, I got a job at Accenture, I started doing consulting, I was making great money, and that's when I started coming to the temple, and I started to realize that work was not everything. I remember this one day, it was Thursday, I flew out to my client, I was doing work, and my career counselor comes up to me and he says, guess what, you're getting promoted today. And me being young, I'm like, yes, I'm gonna make more money, I'm gonna hit these goals, I'm gonna do this. Little did I know that that wasn't the blessing that I got. I remember I flew back to Jersey, I took an Uber straight to the mandir, and Aunty comes up to me actually, and she's like, congratulations. And I'm like, why are you congratulating me? She's like, oh, just congratulations for coming to the mandir today. And I was like, guess what? I actually have a bigger thing. I actually got promoted today. And I thought that was so funny because once again, I was that young kid trying to make money and enjoying all this, and just making it to the temple where I can attain the peace and the quality of life is actually what I was congratulated for, but that's something that I didn't realize at a young age. So fast forward years and years, going to the mandir, growing my spirituality, I just started to focus on peace. And another satsang that happened in our life was 3 years ago, me and my wife were just sitting in our apartment, and she's like, hey, my boss reached out to me, and he's like, hey, do you want to go to Europe for 3 months? And she's like, do you want to go? And I'm like, why wouldn't I go to Europe for 3 months? But then she's like, there's a catch. I may not get selected. It's like a company travel trip. And both of us never get selected to win things, right? So we're like, this is not happening. 2 weeks later, her boss calls her and he's like, hey, you're approved. 3 months company apartment. I believe expenses to eat daily were paid for as well. And I was like, that's awesome. But I also have a job in the States, right? So I'm like, how am I going to go for 3 months? So I reach out to my boss, and I'm like, hey, I got this opportunity to go to Europe for 3 months. Can I go? He said, indirectly, he said, Jai Ashkar. Literally, he was like, go have the time of your life. And I was like, wow, who tells you to leave for 3 months? Which was a satsang in itself, because as soon as we landed to Europe, we planned Italy, Spain, you name it, because we're in Europe for 3 months. We landed in Netherlands, and I had this vision. It was the craziest thing ever, where I'm like, Nikita's pregnant. And she's like, what are you saying? And I'm like, you're pregnant. I'm telling you, I know you're pregnant. Let's walk to the pharmacy. We go to the pharmacy. I remember the word that she said. The guy was like, good luck, right? And she literally comes, takes the pregnancy test, and she's pregnant. So why that was such a remarkable satsang is because who wouldn't want to travel Europe for 3 months right before starting a family? And now we have 2 beautiful girls, and we got to start this family, but I feel like since we like to travel, this was like one of the biggest blessings we've gotten. But Guruji doesn't always give you everything you need, at least as of what you think. So a year ago, many of you may not know, I actually got laid off from my job. I remember the day it happened. I was sitting in a different business meeting I should have mentioned this. I do like 4 or 5 different jobs. but mainly I was working as a consultant. And I was doing a real estate deal for my brother's coworker, actually. And I literally am sitting in the meeting. My HR reaches out to me, and she's like, I got to talk to you. When she said that, I'm like, this is insane. What is going to happen? She says, unfortunately, we're laying off the whole team. I used to work as a strategy and operations head for a POS payments company. And that same day, the same amount of paycheck I would have gotten for my job, I literally doubled it in that transaction. And that was the day that I realized that just have faith, And ironically, that same day when I woke up, there was a recruiter who kept messaging me every single week. And I'm like, I'm not going to work for them. I like the job I'm at. And some reason that morning before I got laid off, I woke up and I was like, let me email her. I email her. She gets excited. Literally a week later, I got a job offer that I didn't even think I was going to take. 40% pay raise, sorry. And I'm like excited. They're doing my background check. They're doing everything. And then my cousin calls me. He's like, hey, what's up? I was like, figuring out what to do with my life. He's like, oh, how's that interview you went with? I didn't tell him I got the job, right? Because being Indian, you don't want to jinx anything. So I'm like, yeah, it's going. But I was like, there's two solutions that are going to happen in my life. Either I'm going to take a job one day and I'm just going to be that corporate person for the rest of my life, or I'm going to put 2 feet into entrepreneurship, which I've also been doing my entire life while working a corporate job, and I'm never going to look back. 30 minutes after I put that into the universe, I get a call from the recruiter. She's like, unfortunately, we are changing our plans as a company, and we're eliminating this role. And I'm like, what? I'm not panicking. If anything, I'm like, wow, Guruji, this is just insane how everything's happening, And I haven't looked back. Since then, it's been 10 months. I'm still doing 50 other things in life because that's just what I'm made for, I believe. But, I've had the liberty to I'm starting to build a tech company to help restaurants and entrepreneurs, kind of like what I've always wanted to do. And I feel like I would have never had that chance. And putting that aside, I would have never had the chance to be at home all day, annoying my wife and kids all day, because now I'm home all day, And I just feel like without somebody controlling you or someone steering you in the right direction, we're always just trying to go somewhere, right? And maybe the road isn't just a straight line. It has to have its up and downs, And that's the biggest thing I've learned. So I want to leave you guys all with that message where just have faith. The second that I stopped doing things and I just started to take a passenger seat and just enjoy life, I feel like every goal I've had, everything that I wanted to have just started to happen. And that's the biggest blessing ever, because waking up happy, going to sleep happy, waking with peace and sleeping with peace is, in my opinion, the biggest riches that anyone can ever have. And without Guruji's guidance and coming into Guruji Sharan, at that young age out of college, maybe I would have been like 99% of my friends that make good money but hate their lives and are focusing on things that they don't want to do. And we all have a choice to do what we want to do, but we always forget that life is not just about working and making money, but there's all these little things in life, right? So step back from life sometimes and just realize all these blessings around us. Realize how beautiful you all are. Realize how you all woke up today and some people didn't wake up today, And those are the things that you should cherish in life. And if you do, then Guruji will continue to have these satsang in your life and bless you all. Jai Guru. Would you like to say anything?
Jai Guruji, everybody. Don't want to make this too long, but basically I just want to thank Guruji for everything that he's done in our lives. At first, when Guruji first came into my life, I'm not going to lie, I was very skeptical growing up, having certain beliefs with certain gods, and then, all of a sudden, something new comes up in my life, at 20 years old. And so, there was some doubt at, everyone would talk about Guruji and the magic he has. And so it took a while, but eventually Guruji showed his magic, and now he's just changed life in how viewing and blessed us with the best things in life, and when you least expect it, like they said, that's when it comes. I wanted a kid for a very, very long time, and when I started, giving up at maybe it's not meant to be, that's when, it happened, and it's the biggest blessing, these kids bring you so much joy and so much life. And I can't thank God enough to have such wonderful kids and a wonderful family. So thank you, Jai Guruji.
You want to say anything? Jack.
And a wonderful.
Yeah, of course. Oh, I will say, I'm very lucky. I met my love of my life in college. And in this world and day and age, this does not happen. So, Jai Guruji to that.
It's funny, we met right when we started going to the temple. So I've known her my entire life, the same time I've been with Guruji.